Okay, my name is Bouli Hadjioannou. I'm the editor of the Cyprus Weekly newspaper. I've been working for the print media for coming on to maybe 30 years, which sounds pretty scary, I suppose. I have a background in English and history and international relations, and I started off as a proofreader. And the Cyprus Weekly was set up by three very well-respected journalists who eventually sold it about 4 or 5 years ago to the Philanthropist Group, which is where we are now. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's told you this. I mean, the change is absolutely massive. And I don't really think we have had the chance to properly think out the ramifications of how it's impacting the print media particularly. I will talk about the print media because that's what I represent here at least. It's a great tool. We use it a lot too. But it's also done something, it's changed, I think, the role of the journalist. Because the journalist, if you think back traditionally, would be the middleman between the news and the user, whether it be a reader or a viewer or whatever. Now we have the Facebook and we have Twitter, and it moves so fast and so quickly and everybody can do it. The middleman's role has changed. And some people might say they didn't really need him anymore. So if you were to ask me what is the biggest change for me, would be how we need as journalists to reconsider our role. We're not there just to tell people what happened anymore, because they can probably find out what happened on their own from somebody who was there and just sent the message. Yeah, I think people use them irrespective of their work schedules, okay? I'll be fair. I mean, people are, people have their friends, they have Facebook, and yes, we have Facebook. All the colleagues have Facebook here, and I think it's great. I think they should have it, and it doesn't really matter if it's for personal or professional. When you're in journalism, I don't think there is a personal, not professional thing anyway, because someone out there, a friend of yours, might tell you, has seen something, lets you know on Facebook. That's great. It's like picking up the phone. So also you see things all the time on Facebook. Things stream up. I'll give you one example. For example, animal cruelty, which is one thing we feel very strongly about here. A lot of those stories we get from Facebook. So yes, it is part of but not in a sort of structured way. I mean, nobody goes along and says you check on Facebook this and check that. But I know that they do it anyway. Yeah. Yes, there is a couple of problems there. The problems is to start with photographs. The other thing is that on Facebook, people say what they like. When you're a newspaper, you can't really say what you like. So some of the comments that come through, I mean, it's indicative of public opinion, so it's useful again. So you know how people feel. But you can't sort of just pick up something and somebody said on Facebook, so-and-so is an absolute liar, he's a cheat and he's a thief. But in the newspaper, you're going to get sued for libel. So yeah, so they need to check. I think it's more of a tip-off kind of thing, and a general gauge of how people are thinking and which direction the mood is, and perhaps also indicative of what kind of story they would like to see, without it forcing us to do that kind of story, but where their interest lies. Because sometimes when you're in a newspaper, you're in an office, you're not as close, you're not out there as much. We don't report. That's another thing that's changed a lot. People don't report the way they used to report in my day. I mean, before. I mean, we have to physically stand outside people's offices and for hours until they came out to ask them something. Now it's all by phone or there's the TV. They have all these direct broadcasts. Well, this has changed. Well, the Twitter account that we have as the Cyprus Weekly is linked to our website. Okay. So the stuff that goes, I mean, that's something we need to revisit and maybe make it proactive. Have people actually going on Twitter more than they are now. So if anything, it wouldn't be I would say it would be the opposite of what you're saying, that perhaps we should be doing more of that rather than less of that. And now I don't think that there is a possibility of leaking, because I think the story's out there, and if you're the first to have it, it's good. I mean, the story's not going to wait until the Friday when the Cyprus Weekly is going to come out. If it happens on a Tuesday, so you can get your share of the of having a part in that story if you do use Facebook and Twitter and the website. So the problem is something else that we've talked about here with the colleagues is when you're when you have a website, which we have, there is a fear of what we call cannibalization. But this is what a newspaper is different from a site, because a site just gives you the news. A newspaper is supposed to do a little bit more than that. It's supposed to go in there and try and explain, serve as that middleman that I was talking about before. More specifically about the Twitter, you have a good point. I think that I know some colleagues have Twitter accounts here. No, it would never cross my mind that it's in any way sort of competing with their job, because they are who they are partly because they are part of the team. I think perhaps people my generation would probably need a lot of training. I think the young ones probably know better than the people who will be training them. I don't know. It's something I have to be honest with. I don't really know. But I think that the younger team, they don't. I mean, you ask them for something, and before you finish the sentence, they produce something from the internet. So, I mean, just information and stuff like that. They're very, very. I think younger people are growing up in a different environment, and that shows. But yes, any training is always good. And I think the media is going to have to. I mean, I know, for example, a friend of mine who lives in the States, she was saying that when journalists are hired, one of the things that the employer looks for is how many followers they have. So the more followers you have, the better the chance you have of getting a job in the traditional media, because they're going to be, and when I say traditional, I mean print and TV. So because they're hoping they're going to bring audience with them. I don't think this has come to Cyprus yet, but it should. And it probably will very soon.